Well, thank you very much, our National Ministry Leader and Regional Director for Southern Africa, my brother and friend, Dekalani, and my sister, Margaret, and good morning to all of you. I believe I've met quite a few of you from last night and this morning, and I'm so happy to reunite with many of you from 2015 when we were all here. Pastor KK sent me a message that I should say greetings to all of you. He misses all of you. And my wife and family also want to send their greetings to you. My wife couldn't join me because our son, who came with us 4 years ago, is now in senior high school. We just put him in boarding house last week. No, it's not a week. Just tomorrow will be a week. And so they are still working on that. So she couldn't come. All our leaders in Ghana, all the pastors, especially those who were here in 2015, all of them say, I should send their greetings to you. They miss here very much, and they were asking about all kinds of things, including the big dog. But I've seen two of them. I've seen two of them now. So I don't know who was the big dog in 2015. But we really are happy, and I'm happy to be here. I have a presentation to make, but I want to give some, in legal terms, it's more like, okay, these are things you shouldn't think I'm going to do. And one of them is that I'm going to give examples from Ghana, maybe Nigeria or West Africa. But I want you to look at it as just illustrations, because the standard is Jesus Christ. So whatever I say, I'm not saying that is what has to be done, but I'll say these are some of the things we are doing. And so we're going to share ideas, we are going to share principles, but each area in Southern Africa would apply it, would adapt it as the Holy Spirit leads us. Because the leader of the church is the Holy Spirit. Hallelujah. Amen. Having said that, I would now launch into the first presentation. And the first presentation, Church Infrastructure Development, a Challenge to GCI in Africa. Now this is based on the background of the fact that apart from the church saying that we are GCI, we live and share the gospel. In Africa, one of our major focuses is that we want to share this gospel in a way, in an environment where our people are empowered and where the church is sustainable. So sharing the gospel through an empowered, sustainable African church. That is our main goal now. We want healthy churches. But in Africa, we want a situation where we, you and I, are empowered. Our children are empowered. Our women are empowered. So that together we would move forward and share the gospel in such a way that the gospel message of GCI Africa would be sustainable. For us, the most important words are empowerment and sustainability. So that when you and I are no longer strong, the church will go and it will thrive and it will grow and it will multiply. The background to all this is the fact that we are a church. We are called out. We have two directions in which we can go as an organization or as individuals. We would either grow, which I pray and hope we would do, And if we don't grow, there's no other alternative than we die. We are left with only two options: either grow or die. So this is what I want you to think about in the context of all this presentation I'm doing. We want to empower our people, we want to empower ourselves, and we want to grow in such a way that the church will be sustainable. I'll go through the first presentation very quickly. Hopefully within 30 minutes I'll finish the first one and do the second one because they are all interlinked. The Bible says the whole duty of mankind is to know God and obey Him. Jesus said, "This is life, that they may know you, the true God, and Jesus Christ, whom you have sent." And that's in John 17, verse 3. In John 3:16, it shows that both Old Testament and New Testament wants us to build a relationship with God through Christ. In Matthew 28:19-20, Jesus says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, beginning in Jerusalem, in Samaria, and throughout the world." These are things that we are enjoined with. You go to the next slide. So we need to develop infrastructure. To be able to achieve these, we need to develop infrastructure in all areas of church life. And when I say church life, I'm calling about the life of you and I. In our lives, we need to develop infrastructure in the human beings that God has given us among ourselves, so that we'll have laborers who would go to the vineyard, who would work with God. And one of the favorite scriptures I really have is in Corinthians, where God says, "You are my building and you are my co-workers," workers together. And I always think about myself, look at me, and God says, "I'm his co-worker." I mean, this is amazing. But we need to build infrastructure so that we, the human beings, are able to work with God through His Spirit, so that we would achieve the goal that He has for us. We need to build spiritual infrastructure so that our people are nourished. There's nourishment to their souls. We need to build physical infrastructure so that we have spaces and facilities and shelters to operate in. We need to build social infrastructure so we have opportunities to commune with God and with our fellow humans. And I think this is one of the nicest examples of a social infrastructure that also achieves a spiritual infrastructure. So there's a planned meeting that we all agree that once in so many months we all gather together and we begin to socialize, we begin to share, we begin to nourish our souls, we begin to look. So it's a kind of infrastructure. We also need financial infrastructure. We need to create the avenue so that people can give to the Lord. And I've got a lot of things to say about that down the line. So let's go to the next slide, which says, what does infrastructure mean? What does it stand for? Below, under. The basis, the bedrock, the bottom, the foundation, the groundwork, the underpinning of the structure. So when I talk about human infrastructure, I want us to think of the foundations, things we would do so that the human beings within the organizations are built up. Physical infrastructure, that's easy to see. I mean, of course, this is a physical infrastructure. We want to meet here, there's a roof, there's a ceiling, and so on. So that's the underpinning. Financial infrastructure there are things we need to lay in place. And once we do that, it's easier, all things being equal, for people to give. One of the things I really learned when we went for the International Denominational Conference 2 years ago in Orlando was a word that kept cropping up. And that word was intentional. Intentionality. Plan. And in all these, my own, whatever I learned from there is that if we plan for something, it happens. If we just expect something, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Somebody has said, people do what is inspected, but people don't often do what is expected. So if there are plans in place, if we are intentional about creating these infrastructure for physical, for spiritual, for human personnel and so on, it's likely to happen. We are likely to achieve 60, 70, 80, 90% success. Rather than when we just expect it to happen, oftentimes it doesn't. So we go to space. Special infrastructure. We need space to do things. And Lingalonga is a very good example. You know the number of activities you do here. Now, without Lingalonga, I believe your budget will be so stretched to house all of us, even in a guest house. It is going to be a nightmare. To have a hotel conference facility like this is going to cost a lot of money. But over here, I hope the managers will say, okay, pay for the utilities and maybe 10%, and we're okay. Because this is physical infrastructure. This is the space we have that as a church we can use. And so we need to plan intentionally that we need to create space that we can worship, that we can use to live and share the gospel. Hallelujah. Amen. But that means we need to acquire land. And legality is so important. In Ghana, that's my first example. In Ghana, we have about 11 congregations. And in almost all the places, I think about 10 of them, we have acquired property, land. And some places, one of the places where we have the conference, we have a 15-acre space, maybe a little less than yours. And we have, a school and a church hall and so on. But legality is so important because we have lands all over the place and we didn't have money to develop all of them. About the past 5 years, we have been in court. And I'm a pastor, but I'm, I think, going to graduate as a legal assistant. Because I know all about the injunctions and the court procedures and all kinds of, legality. Because we were taken to court in 2 places, we took others to court, and there was a time we had about 5 court cases. Thankfully, almost all the court cases are over. We have, I think, 2 of them left. All about land. So, once we acquire these spaces, it helps us to be able to do what we have to do. The examples of Jesus Christ, Lake of Galilee, the shores, a lot of big space. The grass, where he fed 5,000, space. He didn't acquire it. Of course, he owns it. Hallelujah. All that land belongs to him, even though the Jewish people had not given him the title at that time. They had not signed it, but he knows he owns it. The Mount of Olives, there were spaces there that he had to use. So we need to think intentionally that, look, we have a congregation in ABC place. Where will the children play? Where will we go when we want to meet each other? When we want to share the gospel? We share it in the community. Where would they come? It's so important. Next slide. So we have an example of an open space at our campsite in Kutunse. The next slide. Then we have buildings. I've just mentioned about buildings. Buildings are so important because they serve as the rallying point of any organization. When we have a church and they have a small building where they meet, it always becomes the rallying point. So we want to have men's meeting where venue, church hall. Women's meeting, church hall. Youth meeting, church hall. Counseling session, church hall. Church service, church hall. And so on. Weekend activity, church hall. Socials, church hall. Because that becomes a rallying point for the church. And in our facility in Kutunse, we have all kinds of things that goes on. The youth go there every Friday evening for rehearsal. They want to go rehearse. They want to go pray all night. The women will go there for retreat. The men will go there for retreat. The youth will go there for camping. And this year we have started a children's camp based on an idea from our friend, the Life Club, famous Life Club, Jeff. He gave us an idea about camps for young children. And we started. Because that begins to become the center around which a community revolves. And so in secular life, if you have a village, normally they will have a village square, or they will have a big tree under which everybody congregates. So if you want to have a small meeting, you go under the big tree. In the ancient times, they had the gates. So when your husband is a good man, he sits at the gate. So that becomes more than like the rallying point. And in our setting, once we have a building, could be a schoolhouse, it could be a normal chapel, that becomes a rallying point for our members. And I have the next slide. This was the meeting hall in progress when we were about to, renovate it, and now it's totally different. And then the next one, this one, I hope the next one, I hope we see it a little bit, we see just a human being, but it's just some metal poles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we roof it. And it's open. And the people meet there. Because at first, we did not have a place to meet. When it's raining, we have to run away. But with this shelter, the people are so happy. They are so joyous. Hopefully next year, we'll put some, bricks, maybe like 2 or 3 courses around, so that the rains will not come in. And they are happy about it. It's a kind of shelter. But at least it's a rallying point for our people in one of the villages where we have an attendance of about 40 people every week. And that is really serving them very well. Next slide, we see the example of a fine auditorium. Okay, now this is in the process of being completed in Kumasi, in the middle part of Ghana. And this is going to be a rallying point for our people there. Next slide. School block. We do have 2 schools in Ghana, one in the south, Accra, and one in the middle, Kumasi. Next slide. Branding. We need to, as part of the physical infrastructure, we need to be able to show that this is Ninga Longa. And it's so nice. You just drive on the road and you get there, you see. This is where we are. And by the building, you have the sign there. And there are some churches that are very, very good at doing that. So on the main road, the church hall might be just about even a mile inside. But on the main road, you will see their sign, blue and orange. And then you see the name, GCI, and the arrow. It's a kind of physical infrastructure. And once you get to the next turn, you see a sign. The next turn, you see a sign. And by the time you get there, you see a big sign by the building. It's a way of making it easier, intentionally, letting people know that this is where the physical infrastructure is. And so you go out there, talk to the people, and you say, oh, we are GCI. On this road, you will see a sign. Follow the signage. One day you are there, and somebody knocks at the door. Hello, Pastor. I'm the one you talked to 3 months ago. I'm just coming to visit. There's intentionality about directing them to where you want them to be. Church office. This church office is in one of the disputed areas that I talked about. And we have had to suspend work on it. But church office is so important. In Ghana, I've been the national ministry leader for, this is my 6th year. I don't have an office to work from. Fortunately, God has blessed me with a house where I can have, this as an office. That's where I work from. The other officers, the business manager, the accountant, and so on, we have about 3 of them. They have some small space. And the business manager, of course, business manager is a big man. But in his office, when I go there to join him, 2 of us, then the office is full. In fact, where he asked me to sit, when I sit there, if he wants to go out and use the washroom, I have to get up. Of course, we are managing. But we realize, no, there is need for the national office so that we can have access to information. So, for example, we have a lot of legal records. All the lands, we have registered them. Where are we keeping them? If we have this small kind of office, we do a lot of transactions, and our accounts are audited every year. Where are we parking them? That they are now in boxes, sitting around. It's not good enough. It's important that we have a national office, no matter how modest, where the officers, maybe 2 or 3 people who are working in the office, have enough room. Then, importantly, the records will be in such a place that down the line, when we need it. And I'll give you this example of our situation in Ghana when we were litigating over land. And some of the lands we bought about 30, 40 years ago. And so the lawyer would say, where are these documents? And you have the boxes there. And you have one filing cabinet in my house and another filing cabinet at the campsite. Thanks be to God, we're able to piece them together. But if we had a national office where we had records room, even a small space where you have filing cabinets, and you go, this is the time of Tim McGuire, okay, this year. This is the time of this is the time of that. And then you go there, you would find what you want. In fact, at that time, there was one document we were looking for, we couldn't find it. Fortunately, we had one of our old pastors, and he keeps records. So we asked him, he said, look, I'll check. And the following day, he brought me all the records. But we need a national church office so that whatever we have, whatever we want to leave behind for our children, they'll be there. And some of those things, they are not just legal, but they are institutional memory. And so the same issue that cropped up 10 years ago, and based on your wisdom, we resolve it. The same issue might come up next 10 years when you are on retirement. And these young people can just go into the archives and they'll solve the problem. Hallelujah. Human infrastructure. I want to say that more important than all the things I've talked about is the human infrastructure. It is more important than buildings. It is more important than any other thing, because the church is made up of the human beings. And so if we plan very well to build the people, then we are likely to empower them, and we are likely to have a church that is sustainable over the long haul. Let's look for our first scripture, Luke 6, verse 12 to 16. I'll read through. This is the Living New Translation or something like that. Luke 6 and in verse 12. One day, soon afterwards, Jesus went up on a mountain to pray. And he prayed to God all night. So in developing our human infrastructure, our major partner is God. And Jesus, who is God, even had to pray to the Father. At daybreak, he called together all of his disciples. So there were more than 12. Maybe 100, 200, I don't know. And chose 12 of them to be apostles. So the bigger group and the smaller group, here are their names: Simon, Peter, Andrew, Peter's brother, James, John, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, son of Alphaeus, Simon, who was called the Zealot, because he was very zealous. Judas, son of James, and Judas Iscariot, who later betrayed him. 12 of them. And the gates of hell has never been able to stop the growth of this church that Christ began and handed over to 12. 10 plus 2, 12. And the church has grown from Jerusalem to Judea to Samaria to the ends of the world, to the point that it has come below the equator. This morning, somebody was greeting me and said, "How was the morning below the equator?" Because I live above the equator, north of the equator. So the church started at the northern side of the equator, traveled through Africa, all the way down here. The gates of hell could not stop 12 people. In fact, one of them was killed within a few months. So there were 11. And so this is the point I want to make. That we need, as individual leaders, to look for our 12, or our 11, or our 10, or our 2, or 3. Like if you look at the example of Paul. Paul worked with Barnabas, with Mark, with Timothy, with Titus, with, Silas, with Silvanus. There's so many people that he worked with. Apollos, Priscilla, Aquila, Lydia. In every community, he started and worked with a few people. Acts chapter 2, verse 42. In Acts chapter 2, verse 42. And as we work with them, the foundation of our work, Acts chapter 2, verse 42, all the believers devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship and to sharing in meals, including the Lord's Supper, and to prayer. So as we choose 2, 3, 4, 11, 12, whatever, our main focus must be to disciple them, to teach them, to mentor them, to coach them, to help them, to encourage them, and to lead them to do the work that we are currently doing. And I'll go on to that in the next set of slides. But once we do that, then we are multiplying the ability that God has given us into 2, 3, 4 places. Acts chapter 8, verse 4 to 8. Acts chapter 8, verse 4 to 8. And this is something that one of our pastors mentioned to me, and I said, wow, this is very interesting. Because even the apostles did not do this at the beginning. In fact, in the records of the book of Acts, apart from Peter, I don't see any of them again with a lot of write-up on what they did, as far as preaching is concerned. But you have Stephen, and he was a deacon. He was not even an elder. He was not an apostle. But through the spontaneous gospel sharing that Stephen did, in fact, historians are saying Stephen and Paul, they changed Christianity from being a sect of Judaism to a way of life. Because what they said was very spontaneous. Because God had been in them, they said, look, this is what I want to share. This is what I see. In Acts chapter 8, verse 4, the believers who were scattered preached the good news about Jesus wherever they went. And this is what we need to encourage our people to do, so that this human infrastructure, as we begin to impact them intentionally in our local areas, we release them. Unfortunately, we have had a history. And 2 weeks ago, one of our leaders, he's a deacon in one of the areas, he said something that really, really made me sad. He said, somebody died, we went to bury the person, and in a conversation, he said, look, this particular village, they encouraged me to come there to share the word with them. But because nobody had told me and authorized me to go, I did not go. And I said, wow. You know the gospel, you know the message, and they said they need you. And you need whether written authorization or legal authorization of a stamp before you go. But he said, look, in the past, that's what we used to do. So we need to know our past, and we need to free our people so that spontaneously they preached the good news about Jesus wherever they went. Philip, for example, went to the city of Samaria and told the people about the Messiah. Crowds listened intently to Philip because they were eager to hear his message and the miraculous signs he did. Philip, one of the 6. Eventually, in the latter part of Acts, he's called Philip the Evangelist. He went spontaneously. We need to release our people and empower them and give them leadership roles so they will be willing to share the gospel. Usually it is those who go out spontaneously. And I was telling this young man, no, it's not a young man, it's a little bit towards my age. I told him, look, the way the church grows is that people spontaneously go and begin to share the word. And they have Bible study groups. And then they say, hey, Pastor, by the way, I have 5 people I'm working with here. Can you come and support us? That's how the church grows. That's how the church grows. People go and organize their families, their neighbors, and say, Pastor, can you send a deacon to come and explain the Bible to us? That is how the church grows. And so I want us to involve all ages, men, women, children, all groups in the church. And they are all part of the way in which we can build the human infrastructure. Next slide, please. Regarding giving, okay, that's it. Okay. Okay, let's do the next one. So this next one is an expansion of the human infrastructure. And this is a presentation I gave during our conference in April in Accra. And it's called the Farm System in Leadership Development. Effective succession planning as far as GCI is concerned. Now, we had to do this because we have realized that in a lot of our places in Ghana, as well as in West Africa, I don't know about Southern Africa, we are in a state in which we have a lot of good leaders who have been in the system for a long time. They have been very, very consistent. They have been capable. They have taken care of the churches. However, we have a problem in that we don't have a very good reserve bench. Hallelujah. We play rugby very well in Southern Africa, cricket, but I'm talking about football. Okay. So, in football games, the teams that do very well are the teams that have a very good bench. You have 11 players on the field, and then you have the coach and assistant there, and you would see a group of players sitting by them. These are the players that when somebody gets injured on the field, they go replace them. These are the players where when the coach sees that something is not going well on the right or the left or back or front, he replaces them with. And the coach that has a good bench always wins. I remember a long time ago, Manchester United. They had, those who don't support Manchester United, please forgive me. I don't support any team either. But I like football a lot. That period, the current coach of Manchester United, Solskjaer, and another guy, they were called super subs because when they are substituted, they always win the game. The coach talks to them, they can understand the game, and they go into the game and they win. During the Champions League finals against Bayern Munich, Bayern Munich was leading 1-0. And it was like about 5-6 minutes before the end of the game. And everybody thought the game is lost. In fact, some people left the stadium. I mean, what's the point? We've lost, so what's the point? And he brought these two guys at once on the game. And they changed the face of the game upside down. Within 2 minutes, they equalized. The last minute of the game, They had a corner kick or something, and one of them scored. And when they kicked off, that was the end of the game. In fact, the Manchester United fans that ran out, they heard the sound in the stadium, and they did not know what was happening. They turned on the radio, their team had won. Because they had a very, very strong bench that they had to work with. This one has gone off, okay. So, all I'm saying is that we need to have a very, very strong bench in the sense that we are good. And I'm so happy talking to a few of our leaders yesterday that as far as the new understanding is concerned, I don't think you have a problem. At least those who talk to me. If they are a good representation of what is going on here, you don't have a problem. So we need to move forward from this point so that we can have a good farm system that would help us. And a farm system is a metaphor for any organizational activity that serves as a training ground for higher endeavors. And so, if we are a church, then we need to think of a system in which we would have, we would have younger people who we are training to be able to take over from us. Next slide, please. Okay, so I gave the example of a football team. And the national football team, Bafana, for example, you would have young people under 17. And normally FIFA has games for them. And the reason why FIFA does that is that once we begin to build them under 17, under 20, recently they are playing under 23 for the Olympic Games. The main reason is that as you begin to do this, you are developing talent that in 3, 4, 5 years will be in Bafana. And the main reason is this. The Bafana players who are good today, in 5 years' time, they are old. In football, if you get to 30 years, you are old. They may be very good right now, and in 5 years' time, you need the under 17 who are now 22 years with a lot more energy, a lot more skills to take over. That's the whole point. Next slide, please. So I want you to think about small scale. If you are developing a farm system, we want a small scale in your local area, in your backyard, in your small meeting, bite size, and you give small opportunities for them. And the main thing, the main provision is you want experience and exposure. See what Caleb is doing right here. He comes here and takes the mic, and any song you raise, and is it Laura? You know, she comes here, and any song I raise, she will be able to play. I will raise some song in Ghanaian language. Once I begin to sing, she will just get the keys right. Oh yes, I trust you. She's saying no. Why? Because she's done it so many times. But what do we do to the young person who wants to help in music ministry? So we have a children's service, and we call that young girl or young boy to come and lead. And Caleb will be by the side and encouraging. You know, Caleb will be singing. At some point, Caleb will just put his mic down, and she's singing, and so on. Exposure at very, very small venues. So we are targeting beginners, children, youth, new persons in the church. And as we do that, we provide opportunities. And the method is intentional. We need to plan. We need to say, look, these people, we want to develop them, the music ministry. So when we have children's service, you come and help them sing. My head, my shoulder, my knee, my toe, they all belong to Jesus. Okay, so I am beginning to learn from Caleb, and this is the stage I'm starting from in the music or in the small children's group. And as I do that, Caleb will say, "Oh, when you sing, look, this one, lower your voice a little bit, do it this way a little bit." And then one opportunity will come, I will go to the youth. Maybe we have youth camp. Say, Emmanuel, you did well at the children's camp, come here. I head, my shoulder, my knee, my toe, they all belong to G. Okay, good. Clap for him, clap for him. And from there, one of these days, when he comes up at the real thing, I'll be by his side. And I'll join him. And we keep going. And then one day, Caleb will say, maybe intentionality. Say, look, today I'm not feeling that great. Emmanuel, you go, do it by yourself. And Emmanuel's heart will be pumping and so on. And he will do it. And Caleb has got an assistant. Gradually, another person also gets another assistant. And we get to the situation where we come here and we have Caleb 1, Caleb 2, Caleb 3, Caleb 4, Caleb 5, Caleb 6. So now Caleb begins to say, which of my Calebs are coming? And he says, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. This is what we want. We want a situation where you have so much choice that you have to beg them, please, today, please, let this one do it. Because we have built a system in which we've given opportunities to. Next slide, please. Why? We have a positive answer. Because the team GCI will always remain. And if we have a good farm system, then the team GCI would continue to be replenished from the feeder team members. So positively, if we have a farm system, then this group will remain. Hopefully more will come in. Caleb will also be there. But we'll have Caleb 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's the positive part about running a farm system. In Isaiah 40 verse 31, it says, we will renew our strength. We will fly like eagles. Renewal is part of our mandate. Because if we just stay where we are, then we are going this way. We are dying. But if we renew ourselves, and we have Caleb 1, in addition to original Caleb. Oh, Papa Caleb, sorry. Papa Caleb is original one. So Caleb is Caleb 2, sorry. Papa, sorry. Okay. Because you taught him how to sing. So you are Caleb 1. And now we have Caleb. But he also needs to have Caleb 3. You see. So the renewal is very, very important. 2 Timothy 2 verse 2, he says, pass on what you have heard me say and teach. Pass on to other people. And they also pass on to other people. That's the whole principle. And if we keep passing on, then even as we remain, we'll see more people behind. Next slide. The negative answer. The persons who now lead any organization are limited. They are limited. Let's read Isaiah 40, verse 30. In Isaiah chapter 40 and verse 30, it says something that we are all aware of. Isaiah 40, verse 30. Even youths will become weak and tired, and young men will fall in exhaustion. But those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on the wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. That's Isaiah 40, verse 30 to 31. But the first part is this, that no matter who we are, because we are human beings, we are limited. There are times where every leader is expected to do something. Either get tired, hello, get weary, get exhausted, or resign. And it's natural. Or leave, or move on, or grow old and retire. That is the destiny of all of us here. Or die. I don't even say or die, and die. Because all of us are going to die. But the organization and the team must remain. That's the negative answer. And since the last time I was here, our pioneer leader in the church in Ghana, he died. Exactly a year, about a month ago, he died. Our pioneer deacon died about 4 or 5 months ago. We buried him. The one who initiated and founded one of our new congregations in the eastern part of Ghana died. In fact, they are burying him today. The one who initiated the churches in the eastern part, where I said, somebody said they should go and preach there, and he didn't go. He died. And we buried him last week. I was there. So these are the people. One of them was 82 years. He read the plain truth, showed it to his father, and now his brothers, all of them are part of the church. They are the leaders of the church. But he, at 82, died. The one who used to oversee the whole church in Ghana, Pastor Akowa, he died last year at 77 years. And so the point is that we are limited, and some of them right now I have a situation where one of our leading pastors, he used to even be our evangelist to Togo, the next country. He's sick. He has stroke. Mobility is a problem. Another one who is in charge of one of our churches, just last week, had a mild stroke. He's able to talk and move slowly. But the funeral we are having for his own original church member, he can't go. So this is the reality. Fortunately, like the one who is dead now, we have a young pastor who is in his 30s, and so he's taking over. So this is the reason. Succession planning, succession system. The next, I don't know whether you see it very well, but this is a tree, and this tree is the same as a banana tree or a plantain tree. Now they teach us a very, very good lesson about succession planning. And when I was preparing this particular presentation, the area to our church office, we passed by this particular tree. And every time I look at it, and the bigger one was getting ready to bear fruit. But God has planned it in such a way that as it's getting ready to bear fruit, and once we cut it, it's dead. Small ones spring around it. 2, 3, 4, 5. They all spring around it. So once it's gone, 3 more takes its place. This is the lesson in nature. And the lesson in nature is that we need to, next, in the church, identify young people so that they will come under our wings, so that they will learn from us, so that they will actually take over from us. We need to intentionally plan that I am going to be older I'm going to be weaker. I'm going to be exhausted down the line. And so I need to plan intentionally that once I'm exhausted and in that situation, there will be 2, 3, or 4 people who could do the same job I'm doing, and hopefully even better. Next slide. The attitude that we need to have is in John 3, verse 30. In John 3, I need to go very fast because my time is going very rapidly. And Jill says we need to keep time. John 3:30. All right, I'll finish very quickly. John 3, verse 30. This is the attitude that we need to have as we train our young people. He must become greater and greater, and I must become less and less. John the Baptist talking in regard to Jesus Christ. John 3, verse 30. We need to have the same attitude as we talk to our young people, as we mentor them. We were in the stage where we were using only hard copies. These young people are in the stage where they have hard copies and soft copies and e-copies and electronic, whatever. So we need to have the mind that these young people should be better than us. They should be able to understand the gospel better than us. They should be able to transmit and share the gospel better than us. Like Elisha, we must hope that those who come after us will have a double portion of the good qualities that we have. And they would add their own good qualities to our good qualities. And so, if I'm a good speaker, I pray that the one who comes after me will be a better speaker. And he will add his music skills to the speaking. And maybe his administrative skills, which are better than mine. And so he becomes a much better pastor overall than myself. Like Jesus Christ himself, he said in John 14, verse 12, he says, greater works that you are going to do because the Spirit is coming. You're going to do greater things than me. Can you imagine that? God himself saying, you, the 12, and those who follow you, as you follow the lead of the Spirit, you do greater work. Next slide. What I want to highlight here is the fact that we no longer have to say the good old days. We need to plan and intentionally build our youth, our women, our children in such a way that we would always say, wow, this season, this year, this current group is better than the old. And we need to look forward to the point we say, wow, we are looking forward to better days ahead. And that is what I hope we'll do. Next slide. Music ministry, I've mentioned that, and we can go on. The next slide. This is an example of, as I was preparing this, I went to one of the church areas, and look at this woman. This woman is there, and I think her daughter is one of them. And those who were shaking the things and so on, we have 3 generations of people there. These little children, their mother was holding another mic inside the congregation singing. And their grandmother was also standing behind singing. So you had the grandmother, the mother, and then the grandchildren all singing. And these young children, they are so mesmerized by what this older one does that they want to come near and shake the shakers. I said, wow, this is good. In church administration, one of the things we are doing in Ghana is to encourage our younger people into leadership positions. And we have to intentionally, we have a program where every quarter I meet them and then we talk. Some of the pastors will come, we discuss church doctrine, theology, and then speaking. And out of that, we have gotten about 5, 6 young pastors, some in their late 20s, early 30s, early 40s. And now we are a little bit more comfortable. 4 years ago, when I came here, my major complaint was that I was among the youngest in the ministerial team. And look at me. Of course, if you don't look beyond this side, you will not. But once you see this side, I'm among the youngest. But we are correcting that gradually. We also have intentionally, based on the constitution that we have, decided to put younger people and females on our church board. So every 6 years, people serve 6 years and they move on. And we intentionally, right now we have 2 women and we have quite a few young people. In fact, those in my age group, we are about 4. We are a 9-member board, but those in my age group are 4. And 2 of us are there because of our position. I'm the national leader, and then there's a business manager who is there. And so we have younger people who are there. In fact, some of the younger people, one is a deaconess. They were YOU when I left college. Another one is a PhD, the lecturer, the university. She was YOU. They all attended camp. But now she's a PhD holder working in the university, has 2 kids. She's matured enough, and she's just in her 40s. And they are part of the. And the whole point is that as we begin to interact with them at the board, begin to work with them in church, we will be able to help them as they make their own mistakes. And what I want to conclude with is this. Like, see, when I was ordained, I was 34 years. And when I was given opportunity of serving the church in Nigeria, as more like a youth coordinator, I was like 28, 29. So what can't a 30-year-old in South Africa do? They can do as much. The next question I ask our leaders, the last time we met, how old were you when you were given leadership roles in the church? That's about 20 years, 30 years ago. And in Ghana, when I asked them, most of them were in their 30s or in their 40s. And so we are getting to the end. And if you would move to the last picture again, I want you to think about these trees, these banana trees, as we think about human development, human infrastructure development. One of the things I didn't mention intentionally is about giving, but we need to have an infrastructure that we give. I'll beg your indulgence, give me 1 minute. Okay, thank you very much. Gail, I'm fine. 1. You see, if you don't give opportunity for people to give, they will not give. If you expect them to just give, some will do, some will not do. And so, like, I went to Nigeria, and they had this very, very beautiful envelope. Anyone who enters the hall on a normal Sunday service, they are given an offering envelope. And so you get the offering envelope. It takes about 1 hour before we collect the offering. So that gives you time to think. I've come here. I need to give an offering. And so by the time the pastor preaches or the announcements are made and say we are collecting the offering, everybody knows that they need to give. Unlike situations where, okay, right now it's time for offering. And now you go here. Where did I put my wallet? Then you say, my wife, do you have some 10 rand? Let me. That's good. The next thing I like about the envelope system is that all of us, physically, we give the same amount. We give an envelope. You may have 1,000 rand in it. I may have 10 rand in it. Of course, from my heart. But as we put it in, There's no shame, nothing, no embarrassment. Everybody puts in. In fact, there are some who don't even have money that Sunday, and they just still put the envelope in. It is very, very fair, very clear, very nice. There are opportunities too that we give to our people. Like I went to Nigeria recently, and I mentioned to them, look, God has done so much for you. What have you given in return? You say, oh God, thank you very much. I got a promotion. Have you come to say thank you to God with 1 rand, 10 rand? Because we don't give that opportunity in their church in Nigeria. In Ghana, we do. So my son got admission to one of the best secondary schools in Ghana. And that was his first choice. He really, 2 years now, he has been talking about going to that Presbyterian boys' school. And he got it. He had very, very good grades. So he was among the first to be chosen. I say, God, please, this is my envelope. Thank God on his behalf. You see, so it's an opportunity. Some people are promoted. He becomes a manager or senior manager. Say, God, thank you. This is 10 rand. And so on. People have babies. People are married. And there's so many blessings. When I said this in Nigeria, you know what happened? There and then, a lot of the people came. One said, look, my 2 children have full scholarships. And that is saving me thousands of naira. And I've never even given 1 naira. So God, thank you. I said, look, there's an opportunity. The next day they came. And in Nigeria, they do their things in extraordinary ways. So instead of him bringing 1 envelope and just say, God, thank you, he brought the envelope and lined up behind him were all his family members. Everybody with an envelope. See, so they are catching the idea. But we need to build that infrastructure. That this kind of meeting, we need to give a special offering. This kind of meeting, we need to do this. And there are building funds. People are building their local churches. And it's okay. After the normal weekly offering, could you give anything you can afford once a month? It's an infrastructure that is there. They bring the envelopes, building fund. 1 CD, 2 CDs, and people are beginning to build their infrastructure. So on this note, I say, look at this. And as far as human beings are concerned, let's learn from the natural life. That as we grow older, we would get people who will replace us and do the work even much better than we are doing now. I believe all of us in God's kingdom, hallelujah, we're going to be there. And when we ask our son, what happened when I left? And my son says, this chapel was expanded to the right and to the left. And what happened? My grandchild, what happened? And we expanded it to the back. And what happened? My great-grandchild, and we developed all the way towards the hill. And what happened? I think we are all going to be very, very glad. And our children will say, these are the children that through you and us have come to God. May God bless us and guide us. Amen.